Hello, I'm Matt and welcome to Badger Workshop. Like a lot of people, I'm going to use this time to do some cleaning and organising. Since building the workshop, I've been meaning to put some things on the wall, so I've got a pile of stuff I want to get put up, and that's the plan for today. I want to use nothing but scraps for this project, so I've got some bits of walnut and some hardwood pallets. They all needed a bit of a clean up, so I planed and surfaced one edge and then I could get them all thickness down. I'm going to start with my squares and rules, so here's an easy one, that can just go there, and I'm going to lay out these other bits. This square and my speed square have little cutouts in them that I can draw around. I can then get these shapes cut out on the bandsaw. The plan is that the squares will just hook over these and go on the wall, and it also should make it pretty obvious where they need to go back to. I use my spindle sander to clean them up, as this is the only stationary sanding machine I have, and they're a little bit too small to use with the random orbital sander. These shapes need to be mounted to a backer board, so I get a couple of pieces cut down on the crosscut sled. Then I can get them glued on. I get some PVA applied, get them lined up with the squares themselves, and then I can get them clamped in place until they're dried. My combination squares and engineer squares are going to need something a bit different. So again, I'm going to cut down some material for them to go onto and rip it down into some thinner strips. Instead of them sitting on cutouts, I'm going to have them sat on little shelves. I mark out where I want the shelves to go, then I can drill some holes through and I'm going to attach them with some glue and some screws. I don't want these squares to be able to fall off the shelves, so luckily I hold on to all my little brass offcuts. I knew they'd come in handy one day, so I can cut them all down into little pins. To give them all a bit of a clean up, I chuck them up in the drill and then give them a clean up on some sandpaper. With a bit of masking tape around my drill as a depth stop, I can then drill some holes for these pins to go into. And whilst I have the drill out, I'm also going to drill some holes for some little brass inserts to go into, and this is going to allow me to attach these to the wall. In the holes for the pins, I get a few drops of CA glue, and then the brass pins can go in place. So I've got a few more measuring devices here, and instead of sitting on shelves, I think they can all just hang off pins, so I mark out where they need to go. Then I can do exactly the same, drill some holes for the pins and get them glued into place. I'm trying to do things that are similar at the same time, so even these are completely different, they're a similar shape. I get a bit of wood for each of them to go onto, and the ruler I want to have a little shelf, so I also cut a little tab for that. I get it drilled, glued and screwed on, same as I did the other ones. For this old Stanley knife that I've had about 30 years, I get a hole drilled for a pin for it to hang off. Cut down a little offcut of leather into a couple of strips. The first strip is going to go around the wooden rule to hold it in place. I have some of these little black upholstery tacks, so I'm just going to stick a couple of them in either side to hold it in place. The second strap is just going to go around the blade, so in case when I'm reaching up onto the wall, I don't accidentally catch my hand on it. Next to go on the wall, some of my most used bits. So first I'm going to rip some material square. Then with a 7mm drill bit, set up a depth stop and start drilling some holes for these bits to go into. I'm now going to mount this onto another thinner board just to make it easier to attach to the wall. I've installed a couple of those brass screw inserts into the thinner bit. Now for some punches and awls. Now this is going to be exactly the same as the drill bits, just with some smaller diameter holes. That's not everything done, but I want to get these up to see how the space fills up. So now it's just standard finishing procedure, bit of Danish oil and leave it to dry. My walls are made out of 18mm MDF, so I can just screw directly into them, not having to worry about any cables. And with all the holders up, I can start getting the tools in and seeing how it looks. So I think this does a few things. It tidies things up, it looks cool, and it's quite practical to actually be able to find things. So that's quite a few bits crossed off the list, but we still got some more room on the wall, so we'll keep going. You might recognise these connectors from pretty much every video. Now, these are so handy, I can swap between them, and with this set, I can fit every single power tool I have. I'll put a link down below to where I got them from, and if you want some, you can use the code BADGER10 for 10% off. I want to make some shelves for them to sit on, so I'm going to use the pallet wood for that and get a few bits cut down. I'm then going to get them drilled, glued and screwed together just like I did the little shelves earlier on. I've used up all my long bits of brass, but I have some copper, so I'm going to bend that down. This will act as a little rail to stop all these falling off the shelf. Position the rail where I want it to go, remember where I keep my awl now, mark out where the holes need to go, and then get a couple of holes drilled out. I get some CA glue in these holes and then I can get the rail installed. And I get 2 of these shelves made, one for those connectors and one's going to be used for my tape measures. Now to sort my axes out. They're not something I grab all the time, but they look cool on the wall. So I've got some little blocks of wood and I'm going to drill some holes for some brass pegs to go in. As with everything else, I've also installed some of these brass inserts. 2 lots of Danish oil in one video. God, I love this stuff. Now I can get these couple of shelves put on the wall and get everything put in them. For the axes, I get a couple of these blocks installed and then they just sit on those brass pegs. For my PPE, I'm going to use some of these shaker pegs I made earlier in the year. I'll put a link above and below to this video. I sold a few of them, but I have a couple left, so I thought I might as well use them on this. Another item I had knocking around was this little pencil pot, so I screwed that to the wall, and that is everything crossed off the list. So I think it did do the 3 things I wanted. It did tidy the space up, it does mean everything's close at hand, and I think it looks pretty cool. And it's emptied those drawers from the miter saw station, and there was a reason for that. I'm having a bit of a rearrange, so the saw's coming out of the workshop and going into the garage. Don't look at those garden planters, because that's a future video. And those are my yoghurt tubs full of tomatoes. So the miter saw's going into the garage, and next week you'll see what's replacing it. You can guess all you want, but I'm not going to tell you. So thanks for watching, thanks to my Patreons, and please subscribe for more videos.